Welcome to CWS Christian Writing and Speaking. I'm your host, Jackie Wilson, and today's guest is an award-winning health expert and the co-author of the book, Eating the Rainbow, Lifelong Nutritional Wellness Without Lies, Hype, or Calculus. She has appeared on CNN, PBS, CBS, ABC, the Food Channel, and a host of other TV and radio shows to share her unique perspective on wellness, lifestyle, and nutrition. But her wellness journey begins with her own story. When she was 19 years old at the United States Air Force Academy, she was forced to learn how to live and love differently following a terrifying and transformative near-death experience. Her memory of the crash came back 20 years later, and it has taken her almost 2 decades to align her soul, spirit, mind, and body, providing healing through a non-linear process. She said that she had to reimagine her relationship with God. And now she is a disabled veteran who maintains a private practice primarily using neuro-emotional technique, targeting the often overlooked domains of emotional energy and spiritual well-being. Let's welcome to the CWS stage, Miss Nicole Kerr. Welcome, Nicole.
Oh, thank you so much, Jackie. I'm delighted and excited, as you can see, and I'm so grateful that I'm on your show. And I look forward to our discussion today, and I hope it will help others because I don't feel like I've been through this journey just for me. It's to help get the message out there for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. We often say that we refer back to the scripture where it says, we are comforted so that we can comfort others. And so I am excited to hear more about your story, more about your book, and where life is taking you. So, Nicole, tell us what happened.
Well, first of all, let me tell you, I grew up in the Bible Belt, Jackson, Mississippi. So my dad was Southern Baptist and my mom was Missouri Synod Lutheran. So I got a lot of religion growing up. And I grew up with a concept of God where God was loving and good and providing and would take care and protective on one hand, but there were also rules. And if you broke those rules, then God was judgmental, punitive, the wrath of God would come on you. And ultimately, you were bad, you were a sinner, and you would go to a place called hell, and you would be eternally separated from your family. And as a child growing up in this type of doctrine and theology, it creates fear. Okay, so you grow up fearing that you're going to do something wrong. And it turned me into a people pleaser, which a lot of us become. So I wanted to please my father because my father represented God on a different level. He was in the Marines. He was very orderly. He had his own set of 10 commandments that we had to follow. So I went and I did what he thought was best for me, which was to go into the military. And at that time, the military had just started admitting women to the service academies. So I went up there. Here I am, this tall blonde from the South. Not anywhere in my soul is there a bone that wanted to go into the military. So I went there, and needless to say, it's not what it was not what I wanted, and it was not, it was actually very abusive. There was a lot of mental abuse, physical abuse, me being female, sexual abuse, and emotional abuse. But I couldn't quit. I could not say this is it for me because I felt like I would be a failure. I had done so much work to get in there, and I just couldn't do it. So the beginning of my sophomore year, I was involved in a car crash with another cadet. He was driving. I did not know he was drunk, and I was getting a ride back to the academy with him from an event. And needless to say, we never made it back to the academy. I was in a Corvette convertible. He was drunk. He made a sexual pass at me. I said no. I did not remember any of this until 19 years later. Okay. So I had been scared in relationships with men of their anger, of getting them angry at me. So I didn't get married till I was 40. Okay. Because I was always pleasing the guy. And that is an identity that initially may be safe for you to grow up in and feel like, okay, I can be loved if I pleased other people. But at the end, you really are not being authentic with yourself because you are choosing to twist and turn and mold yourself to fit another person's desires of what you should be instead of becoming the being that you were created to be. So you lose your own voice. Well, back to the crash, I was pronounced dead at the scene. Bystanders heard the collision. We hit a huge boulder. This is in Colorado Springs. They came out, couldn't get any vitals, and it took about 10 to 13 minutes for first responders to get there. And the first responder that got there checked my vitals, and the only thing that he could get in me was doing a sternal knuckle press, which is designed to elicit pain in the body. And my right pupil dilated. It flinched and dilated. Now, what do we know about that saying about the eyes are the, you know, the rest of that? Window to the soul, right? Have you heard that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So my body, my soul, when I died, flew out and went up. And I remembered this 19 years later. When he did that, my soul came back in through my eye. Okay. So that life force being, that soul part of me came through. And then that's when they could get a blood pressure on me of 60/0. Normal is 120/80. So I was practically, you know, they were doing CPR on me all the way to the community hospital. I didn't even make it to a main hospital in Colorado Springs. So for the next 4 months, I was in a hospital. I was up and down, 7 weeks ICU. I went through 2 more near-death experiences. I did not want to come back. When I remembered my experience 19, 20 years later, I did not want to come back to this pain and suffering that I knew was going to be my journey on this side. And that's because when I remembered it, my mission was given directly to me by spirit, and it was to not be afraid of death. While seemingly simple, that has taken me almost 4 decades, 2 decades to remember, and 2 decades to just get in alignment with it. And what I understand now is the concept of God that I was given when I was younger was that I feared God. And fear is a very low vibration. And fear is in fear, you lose clarity. Okay. You don't make good decisions because you're making them from that place of fight, flight, or fear. You're not using that prefrontal cortex where you can intellectually and executively reason your way through something. So in order to get that clarity back, you got to address your fears. And most of our fears are irrational. They just don't make sense, and they're not true. And they come from the existence of limiting beliefs. So without these limiting beliefs, your world can exist in a state of alignment. And I want people to know that the goal is to get your body, mind, soul aligned and not have it cut off at the neck where your mind is thinking one thing, but you don't allow your body to embody emotions. You cut your emotions off. So I had to learn all of that. I will tell you that being on the other side, I didn't want to come back because in our society here in America, I feel like almost every book written, and I'm an author, death itself is cloaked in this veil of doom and gloom, and it has this cloud of depression and negativity around it. My own experience, along with hundreds of thousands of others, is 100% different. Death is absolute beauty, light, and loving kindness on the other side. And that's what I experienced. I went through this white light, and it's not a blinding light like deer in the headlights. It's like you're in this chrysalis of you're like an astronaut floating in outer space. There's no fear, there's no negativity, there's no suffering, there's no pain. Why would anybody want to come back? And especially like I, on the other side, could see my body in the ditch. Okay. Since I'm in soul form, I looked down and I saw exactly what I had on, my teal, remember Izod shirts? I had an Azad shirt on, and, I could see me dead in the ditch. And I was like, why do I want to go back in that body that has a number of physical injuries? I mean, I cut my left foot off. I severed my wrist. I broke my pelvis. I had a lot of what were going to be painful injuries to manage the rest of my life. The other piece, why would I want to come back to parents who blamed me? My parents blamed me for breaking my dad's rules. I was in a car with he told me his rules were no smoking, no drinking, and no dating upperclassmen. okay, for the first time in my life at age 19, I decided to have some fun. I had 2 beers the whole day. Now, I wasn't even driving, didn't matter. I tried a cigarette. I'm doing what every teenager probably did back at 12 years old, but I never did. And so he blamed me and told me I deserved what I got and that I disappointed God. So that blame and shame and unforgiveness stayed with me for decades. The fact that my father would never forgive me, because then I thought God would never forgive me. And what I realized is that was not the concept of who God really is, in my opinion. I'm still working through what I believe that concept is, but I now know what it is not. God is not duality. God is love, period. And love is an energy as well as an emotion. And everyone and everything is connected. We're all connected energetically, and your soul is energy. You think about the breath. That is what leaves you last when you pass on. When you look at someone who is in the corpse or the body in a casket, they don't look like who they really were. I don't care how good the beautician is, or the cosmetologist. There's just something about them doesn't look right, right? It's just they don't look like them because they're missing that life force of their soul within them that has gone on and transmuted back to the other side. And that is what I want people to understand, is that we do not die. Hence the title of my book, You Are Deathless. Your soul lives on. But you see, at 19, I died in fear, because that was the belief in God that I had, that I was a bad person, I screwed up, and that I deserved what I got. I needed to come back to clear that belief system that there needs to be no fear in death, that it's going to happen to every single one of us. It is a shared experience, and so we need to start talking about it in more positive terms and look, we're human too. So of course we're going to have those emotions of grief and sorrow and loss. I would hope that you can take lessons from my experience and my book and start having this discussion with other people about, what do you really believe about God? Because I do believe your beliefs about God shape your relationship with death.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. And there's so many things that you brought up. One thing I want to talk about, God is a spirit. And when we go to the beginning of the Bible in Genesis, and we talk about how where God gives man life, he gave Adam his breath. So when you're thinking about the soul, and we have the life of God in us, we were designed to carry the life of God in us. We were designed to exhibit who God is. But the reality is this: if you don't have a true concept of who God is, what you may exhibit is not of God. And so it is so important, like you said, about making sure you understand who God is for yourself. And that is going to shape everything in your life. We wouldn't be sitting here right now if not for God, if God had not shaped this for my life to be here on this show, hosting this show, connecting me with you so that you can share your story. And so as we start to think about who God is, I really strongly encourage people, read your Bible. Most people's beliefs are shaped by their parents because they are to be the first examples who
They're the role
God
models.
is.
That's exactly right.
And so if your parent is by the rule, you will think God is, you have to follow these rules or else.
But
like you said, God is loving, he's merciful. When we should receive negative consequences, a lot of times he says, I'm going to give you another chance, where we really didn't deserve that. So it is so important that we are exploring who God is for ourselves. And I just really have to emphasize that to the audience, because even if the preacher gets there up on Sunday morning, his concept is shaped by his experience.
That's exactly right.
You don't know what kind of experiences people have had. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to look at it and explore for yourself. Nicole, how can people connect with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Instagram, and those are the only three I can handle. I have a website, www.nicolekerr.com. I'm happy to send you the free chapter. If you choose my book as your book club, depending on time zones, I will Zoom in for your book group discussion and answer any questions or be of any support to you. I offer that, my own free time to do that. I want this to get out and start being a discussion, and I want us to start changing the narrative around death, and especially for children, so that they don't grow up their whole life in fear, because that is going to keep them from being, it's just so hard the older you get to unravel those fear-based belief systems that sabotage you. You can, I was gonna say you could call me, but maybe not that, but yeah, get me on my my Facebook or on my you can instant message me, or my website has a contact thing on it. I put out a blog. I'm so grateful. I just did the Audible version. It's now free on Amazon. It's a 7-hour and 6-minute Audible, but I narrated it myself, Jackie, which was really hard to narrate your own journey. It really is. I've never done that. And then to have to listen to yourself, tell your own story. And I still got triggered, okay? And I've been working on myself for 40 years, okay? And it's still a process, and it's still a journey. And, I will continue this until it's time to go on to the next realm, I guess, but I look forward to expanding however the creator needs me to. I'm open for greater service, and I'm not sure how that looks. And I've been told I don't know, have to figure out the how. I just need to show up, do what's put in front of me.
Is there one last thing that you want to share with the audience as we leave?
I just want you to learn to love yourself and to let go of fears that are really belief systems, limiting belief systems that are not even yours. You're carrying them probably generationally. To let them go and to just align yourself and know there's a whole spiritual realm waiting to help you if you ask for help. And just as my book said, to know that you're deathless, your soul lives on, and it's a journey.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your story. CWS audience, you have heard the discussion. I really, the first thing is learning to love yourself. And the way to do that is to identify yourself with God, who he created you to be. And if you look at his characteristics and you start implementing those into your life, you will start to see something different. Go out there and be brave. There are two types of fear. There's a fear of God where you respect him, and there's a fear of God where that's unhealthy and leads you more so away from who God truly is. Learn who God is for yourself. Take time each day to have those silent moments. We want you to be successful, okay? We want you to be successful in this Christian journey. And so that takes you having to overcome obstacle after obstacle, but know that you are not alone. This is why we have this show. This is why we have people like Nicole and so many others who want to see you move forward in life. God wants to give you and has promised you a life of abundance if you are willing to embrace it. So let's do this, people. You got it. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And until next time, bye.